Convergent journalism often requires journalists to be a jack of all trades. But despite this notion, convergent journalists are still expected to have a very good understanding of the basic skills of convergent journalism. Now, according to our textbook, the first basic skill that a convergent journalist needs to have a proper understanding of is editing. Editing is maybe the most important skill that a journalist could have because without proper editing, your story could seem completely nonsensical. Now, when you're editing, it starts even before you hit the studio. When you're thinking about what you're going to include, if you're going to do a slideshow, are you going to do a video, what kind of audio are you going to include, all of these things are happening in your mind before you even hit the studio. And then once you hit the studio, you've got to decide what you're actually going to include, how long is each thing going to be, what kind of an impact do you want your story to have. Now, the next skill that our textbook talks about is photography. Nowadays, photography is more important than ever. Especially with web-based media, TV-based media, people are real visual learners nowadays. When taking a picture, you need to follow 3 basic steps. First off, you need to make sure that your subject is in focus. Now, this is the most important thing to do because if your subject's out of focus, you're not even going to be able to tell what it is. The next thing you need to do is make sure that it's well lit so that you can actually see what's going on. And the third step is to make sure that your subject is in the frame. Framing is perhaps the most underrated thing that you can do when taking a picture, but it really sets the difference between an amateur photo and a professional photo. Now, the next skill our textbook talks about is videography. And videography follows a lot of the same steps that photography does. You need to make sure that it's in focus, you need to make sure that it's well lit, and you need to make sure that it's in the frame. But our textbook says that due to the lower resolution of video and you have less freedom editing it, you need to make sure that the framing is spot on. Because if the framing's off and you get a bad shot, you can't recapture that moment. Especially with breaking news, it's happening live right in front of you. You only have one shot to get that, so you've got to make sure you frame it up right and you're seeing everything that the audience needs to be able to see in the shot. Now, the fourth skill that our textbook talks about is graphics design. Now, graphics are very important, especially in TV-based news. From graphics popping up, lower thirds, any graphic that you include, you need to follow these steps. You need to make sure that they're simple, that the user can easily understand them, make sure that they use multiple colors, and also make sure that the sources for the information you're using the graphics are cited. Especially nowadays with the term fake news being thrown around as much as it is, it's very important to make sure that the audience knows that your information is credible. And the final skill that they talk about is web design. The internet's king nowadays, especially in the news industry, so you need to make sure that you have a basic understanding as to what these web pages can do, and you need to make sure you know how to change them up. And if you have a really good understanding of all of these basic principles, you'll have no problem becoming a good convergent journalist. For Eagle News, I'm Casey Owens.